Hello, IELTS winners. In this tutorial, we are going to study about a few important aspects of IELTS essay writing, and you will also get to see how an essay is evaluated. I've already checked this essay, and I'm going to share the evaluation with you. Okay, so before I go for telling how an essay is evaluated, I would like you to read this essay. So the topic is some people prefer to live in a house, others prefer to live in an apartment. What is a better choice? Which one is a better choice? So this is the topic, and you can just pause the video. I'm going to scroll it slowly so you can just read it once, and then we will go about checking this. When you read it, try to find out whatever errors or slips there are in this essay. So if you can point them out and you can make a note of them on a piece of paper, we can compare notes. Great. So you can pause it and you can read it as per your convenience. And I'll try to fix these errors. I'll try to point out and tell you how the essay is evaluated. So let's start with the introduction itself. It says different people have different preferences in terms of their choice of residence. All right, fine. So this is a basic sentence. Some prefer living in a house, whereas others choose to reside in an apartment. There are both advantages as well as disadvantages regarding these two choices. However, my personal preference is to live in an apartment. Now, if you look at this sentence, the third one, there is a small grammatical error here. There are both advantages as well as disadvantages regarding these two choices. This is a full sentence. However, my personal preference is to live in an apartment. This is also a full sentence. You cannot technically separate two full sentences with a comma. So what you should do is you should put a semicolon here, and you would get some extra marks for using different types of grammatical structures, as well as we see, grammatical range and accuracy. So instead of a comma, you should put a semicolon here, and I've made this correction here, as you can see. Yeah, so you can write it like this. There are both advantages as well as disadvantages regarding these two choices. Semicolon, however, my personal preference, and after however, you can put a comma. My personal preference is to live in an apartment. So you'll put a semicolon after choices and comma after however. Okay, so this is one thing. Now, I have lived in. Now look at the second sentence. The second paragraph. I have lived in both types of residences. Initially in my parents' house, later in a rented apartment in a society when I started working. Now, when you look at this, the writer is trying to establish authority that he or she knows about the subject. So in that case, you have to make it a little more explicit. I have lived in both types of houses, and hence I can draw comparisons between two. Hence, it is easy for me, or hence it is. Hence, I can draw comparisons between the two options. So you have to tell that, like, if you have lived in two houses, it does not matter whether you were kid or whatever. The point is, you are trying to establish authority, so tell it. As I have lived in both types of houses, I can draw comparisons between these options, and tell that, according to me, the advantages of apartment outweigh those of a house. The first advantage is, and like this you can go about it. So from the perspective of writing a cohesive paragraph, it is important to tell what exactly is your agenda. The first sentence is the claim, then you set the context, then you write the concrete evidence, then you do some commentary, and at the end you write conclusion. So that's how a paragraph is structured, and this is all mentioned in the tutorial as well. But this is how you should structure it, rather than, I mean, it should be very clear what exactly is in your mind. So if you simply say, I've lived in both the types of houses, initially at this first, now and then, when you simply say, firstly, living in an apartment has a lot of benefits in terms of whatever you are telling there, it does not show a very clear transition from your authority to firstly. It looks like a little abrupt. So that needs to be corrected. For example, nowadays all societies have gymnasium, swimming pool, and club facilities with entertainment related activities. There's no need to say with entertainment related activities. So you need to be very precise as well. There is no need to expand the sentences unnecessarily. Everybody knows club facilities are there for entertainment, and they no need to say within the condominium itself. One does not have to go out of society to enjoy these that is available to resident on a daily basis. This all sentence is also not required. You know, societies come with all these amenities, are loaded with so you have to be very precise. Unnecessarily writing long sentences is a strict no no. On the flip side, it is very rare occurrence that one can afford to maintain a personal swimming pool and a well maintained gym, etc. This looks like long. Make it short. However, maintaining such facilities could be very expensive for an individual. So make it punchy. Sometimes when there are long sentences, you lose the punch, and one has to. And reading is a taxing exercise. Anybody who reads your essay should find it seamless, and that's important. So writing short sentences to the point depiction of ideas is very important. In a middle class household, one will have to pay for a local club membership to use the pool and other facilities for merely once or twice a week. So what are we trying to say is unclear. So try to make it very direct. Secondly, from safety perspective as well, I have found that a society is very safe and secure. Secondly, from safety perspective as well, living in an apartment is a better choice, or living in a society is a better choice. No need to say is secure and all, because safety and secure and all these words seem repetitious. So it has to be very clear, and you can straight away come to the example. For example, there are 2 to 3 levels of security checks. So burglary and the occurrences or the instances of burglary are reduced in an apartment. So you can make it very precise. It's a little longish. On the other hand, one would be liable for his or her own safety and take their own precautions while living in a house. So I mean this okay. So you can again make it very precise, but one has to spend for his own safety in a house. Lastly, one of the most important aspects. So it has to be aspects. When you say one of the, it has to be aspect. You have to use a plural in choosing to live in an apartment is the cost. Lastly, last but not the least, uh, there is a factor of cost also to consider. The living cost is lower in an apartment. Make it very direct. One has to choose, and all this you can reduce it. In my opinion, it is quite expensive nowadays to purchase a land and then construct your own house. It is agreeable that, so instead of saying it is agreeable that, it is a known fact that, or you can remove this expression altogether. While purchasing land and building a home is very expensive, comma, living in an apartment is uh, very economical. So make it very simple. You don't have to write long sentences unnecessarily, and you have to refrain from writing too many long sentences. One or two long sentences are enough. There's a lot of wordiness in this essay. To conclude, the advantage of living in an apartment is very conspicuous to me as compared. Don't use the word conspicuous and such. Um, in conclusion, make it very direct. To conclude, the advantages of living in an apartment outweigh those of living in those of a house. The the advantages of an apartment outweigh those of a house. And don't talk about anything additional which you have not mentioned in the body. Try to put it in the body itself. Along with all the pros mentioned earlier, it is also provide decent social environment where we can make it very direct and simple. To conclude, given that a society or an apartment provides better advantages in terms of security, amenities, and cost, I um, prefer living in an apartment over living in a house. Make it very simple, direct, and punchy. One of the things which is very important is being very direct and precise. When you use lot of words to express something which could be expressed in less words, you use the charm of being witty and precise. And sometimes the message gets lost in words, so try to be as precise as possible. So considering all the errors and everything that we have discussed, this essay stands at around 6 to 6.5 in its overall evaluation. I'll send these to you, and this will be helpful for you to understand the nuances of learning, of writing. Thank you so much.